but let's start learning because the time is
Are we on
come.
chapter 16?
We are at chapter 16. Today's shir, Unburied Hatchets.
Do you want us to mute?
Oh yeah, if everyone can mute themselves. Of course, I welcome and invite participation from everyone who's joining us today on the phone or on Zoom or some combination thereof. But I just request, I beg your indulgence to keep yourself muted until such time as you want to speak, because otherwise it just gets very complicated. There's a lot of background distortion, and then it's hard for others to hear what's going on. Chapter 16, I remind you, the chapters are entirely artificial. They were put together in the Middle Ages by people who, let's say, are not our friends, not friends of the Jewish people. They wanted to facilitate polemics and polemical debates against the Jewish people, usually a show trial. The decision was already made well before the polemical debate even began. And that, I only bring it up because what's the difference between the end of chapter 15 and beginning of chapter 16? Nothing, different number. End of 15, David HaMelech has just had this interaction with Hushai HaArki, who he sent back to Yerushalayim, having previously sent back Tzadok and Evyatar, and he has asked Tzadok and Evyatar to serve as essentially couriers of information, and he has basically commissioned, or maybe the word would be recruited, Hushai to bring messages, i.e., to serve as a spy of some sort, to be able to communicate and convey what's actually happening in the palace and with the whole campaign of Avshalom, who to this moment has not arrived in Yerushalayim until the last pasuk of Perek Tet-Vav. Vayavo Hushai re'eh David ha'ir va'Avshalom yavo Yerushalayim. So he also arrived in the same place. Now we learn about David continuing to go. We won't be able to see the whole Perek today in depth. We'll see the whole Perek, but we won't see the whole Perek in depth. Again, it's going to be the break 16 to 17, chapter 16 to 17. Going to feel extremely artificial as well, and it is. Again, refer to what I said 2 minutes ago. Pasuk Aleph, Perek Zayin, Pasuk Aleph. David avar me'at meharosh, v'hinei tziva nar mefiboshet likrato v'tzemed chamurim chavushim v'alihem matayim lechem u'me'at tzimukim u'me'at kayitz v'nevel yayin. So he is actually now past the top of Har HaZeitim. He's going out into the wilderness, which we would call it, say, Midbar, Yehuda. Maybe it's really the Aravah. It's more toward the direction that he's leaving Yerushalayim. And he encounters Tziva. We know who Tziva is. For those who were not with us a number of months ago when we were studying the story of Tziva, you can flip back to chapter 9 and you can see there some of the ins and outs of the relationship, complicated relationship between David and members of the former royal family. Recall that Shaul HaMelech is the first king of the Jewish people. He's appointed by Hashem through Hashem's agent and plenipotentiary, the Navi Shmuel. I mentioned, now that I invoked the name Shmuel, we're in Sefer Shmuel. Tomorrow, Chavchet Iyar, Yom Cherut Yerushalayim, is, I think not accidentally, it happens to be the yurtzeit of Shmuel Hanavi, which to me is always incredibly significant. I'm trying to mention it each year in the shir in the run-up to this time period of Chagiga, and to recognize the great legacy of Shmuel Hanavi as regards Klal Yisrael, from Sefer Shmuel, what he did for the Jewish people and his relationship with Klal Yisrael and the Kingmaker twice, based on what Hashem told him to do, but also that he and David HaMelech, according to the Gemara in Zvachim, are the two who figure out some of the plans having to do with what the Beit HaMikdash should look like, based on the Masorah that and the Megillot that Shmuel has, that he passes on to David, which then are passed on to Shlomo HaMelech for the building of the Beit HaMikdash. So Shmuel intrinsically connected to Yerushalayim, and his yurtzeit is tomorrow. So say many Sfarim among the Sifrei Rishonim. That's not a chiddush of the Tzionim. That was already well known. But that it just so happens that's the day of the return to Yerushalayim. In my view, I can't see it as coincidental or accidental, but that's just me. So we welcome Nali Tzipora and Shula, who were in Yerushalayim on Yom Cherut Yerushalayim. But all of us who've ever visited Yerushalayim, we should have that in mind tomorrow, throughout the day. So back in chapter 9, there was this episode where David, though it is true that Shaul has been killed and the house of Shaul has already been removed from having the role of serving as the royal family, nonetheless, Mephibosheth, who is part of that royal family, is someone for whom David has great affinity because Mephibosheth's father, Yehonatan, has been killed. And he wants to at least take care of this last member of the family, feeling no threat that in any way, shape, or form there will be a rebellion from this person. And he reassures him everything will be fine. And he tells him essentially, I will take care of you. And it's a great act of chesed on the part of David. You remember, hopefully, when we had studied that section, again, a few months ago, it was a constellation of things that David did that were acts of great chesed on his part. They were great demonstrations of magnanimity on his part. I think Churchill was the one who said, in victory, magnanimity. And that was his whole sort of shita. Instead of destroying and pillorying the Germans, for what they had done in World War II, he felt, as we would say in the Beis Medrash, Adarabba, we can't do that. We have to figure out a way to build them up, or at least show some generosity toward them, notwithstanding their wickedness, because otherwise the conflict is just going to wait for its next round, because that was how many people understood World War I as a preamble to World War II, right? Treaty of Versailles, etc. Now, why did I bring all that up? I bring all that up because I wonder if Churchill read the Bible and whether he was familiar with the story of David and what happened here. Recall that Shaul, Yehonatan, and others, they're all dead for one reason, Plishtim. They weren't killed by David. David refused to take up arms against them. And in fact, therefore, it was a great act of magnanimity on the part of David. He didn't have to feel guilty about what happened to these people. The reality is that so it goes. He's I'm just going to be nice to them. They can't really do anything. I have God's promise and the like. And yet I want to reach out to them. I'm reaching down to scoop them up. Now, part of the issue here and what made this so complicated was that back in chapter 9, we also saw that Siva, who's about to show up right here, you see he's showing up with donkeys laden with all sorts of goodies and foods for David on his way out into the wilderness. Siva had installed himself in the place of controlling the assets and the estate of Shaul HaMelech. And Mephibosheth, in the meantime, was living in Me'aver HaYarden. He wasn't even local.
Rabbi, you should mention that Mephibosheth is lame.
Oh, wait, I'm getting there. Yeah, I'm getting there. Yeah, right. Thank you. Yes.
Can't be king.
Right. Okay. So wait. So the lame part is going to be instructive, especially instructive in this story. But I was about to say, how did that happen? Why did Siva install himself? I'm just going to do what I'm going to do, and who cares about everybody else? Because he could. Why? Mephibosheth is living in hiding. Why? Because Ishbosheth was already killed. All sorts of, right, by the whole story of what happened previously. And then Avner ben Ner was killed by Yoav ben Tzeruya. There are all sorts of people getting killed, one to the other, right? So if you flip back to chapter 9, you'll see it there, that Siva had basically been able to usurp the status of having the estate in some measure, because Mephibosheth, it's mentioned in chapter 9, is in the Nechei Raglayim. He's lame. He can't walk. And what David does is he basically says, I, David HaMelech, am also David, good friend of Yehonatan. I will help you, Mephibosheth, and put you back in a place of honor. And one of the reasons, as Shelley just pointed out, there's no real concern he's going to take over. Certainly in antiquity, if you're lame, you can't be the king. You just can't. And if you think that's strange, we talked about it then. I'll remind you now. Think about how much FDR tried to hide the reality of his physical ailments, and what that meant for America in the 1900s. Right? It was the 20th century when that happened. So kama v'kama back in the day. Now, Tziva sounds in chapter 9 like a man who has been actually put in his place, and like a man who has essentially been told off. He's not in the good graces of the king. If you look though in chapter 9, you see that Tziva had his own sort of estate, his own wealth, and the idea that David has done something very nice for Mephibosheth, a kindness, was also in some way related to the notion that even though Yehonatan and David never succeeded in building a kingdom together, and it still was not meant to be, even now, Mephibosheth was not going to be that person. Nonetheless, David HaMelech wants to have him installed as part of the king's court permanently to show that we're not at loggerheads with them anymore. He would be almost a living symbol of the peace between the house of David and the house of Shaul.
Didn't they have a pact between
them
them that they would
pardon?
be?
What?
Didn't they have a pact between them?
Essentially.
That their houses, their descendants,
yes,
would be in peace and live in peace together.
Yes, I mean, essentially they did. Yes.
Okay, so it basically, in a sense, David is just aside from the fact that yes, he was being magnanimous, but he was keeping his word. It's like a covenant.
Well, I don't know that they had a formal pact necessarily that meant that David had to bring Mephibosheth from over the Jordan to bring him into Yerushalayim to say, I'm going to feed you to the rest of your life at my table. That's actually what it says. Chapter 9, verse 7. And he tells him, I'm going to give you back all the lands that belong to your father. And you'll eat the bread on my table forever, for all time.
But when we did that, we went into that. Was he making the fact that he was probably making him an advisor, and he probably wasn't actually sitting in the palace the entire time? And
yeah. But the point is, he was in here, David. He had a villa.
Mm-hmm.
And here, when you look at what's going on in this section, David has told Tziva in chapter 9, you're going to be subordinate to him. Don't think that you pulled a fast one to sort of take over the estate of Shaul HaMelech, because Mephibosheth, he's, I think the word would have been up till the middle of the 20th century, he's an invalid.
Mm-hmm.
He's invalid. Therefore, I'll just run things. David said, no, you're not going to run anything. I'm giving it back to Mephibosheth. You're going to work for him. But now look at, that was chapter 9. Chapter 10 was the really unfortunate happening where the chesed was unrequited and actually thrown back in David's face, where David sent a delegation to the nation of Ammon over the Jordan in order to pay a shiva call, basically, on the loss of a great world leader over the Jordan, right? What happened? Half the beards of the people who went were cut off. They were shamed. Their clothing was torn. They come back completely degraded. And it starts a war, basically. Come to chapter 16, a lot has transpired because chapter 10 was that war. In the midst of that war was David HaMelech chapter 11, the David Bathsheba story, the David Uriah story, and then chapter 12 is the Navi telling David, you did wrong. Chapter 13, 14, 15 was all about the trials of David with his children, or the punishments with his children. It's Tamar and Amnon, it's Avshalom against Amnon, it's Avshalom now with the rebellion, and David is, you could say, filed down. Whatever reserves he has to be able to have perspective, and right. And we just saw last week a very troubling segment, part of which I think got cut off in the video somehow. I don't exactly know how, but it did. So we only got the first 30 minutes. But what did I talk about last week? This strange line of thought within Chazal that say that David HaMelech went up this parallel mountain, Har HaZeitim, right next to the Har HaBayit, and for a moment he's thinking, I'm going to just worship idols now. And then he finds his friend Hushai Ark. He tells him, what are you doing? He says, well, at least if I get killed now by my own child, who wants to take over my throne, at least people will say, well, he was a terrible guy. David is a terrible guy. He actually violated one of the 3 cardinal sins, Yarad Val Yavor. And therefore he was guilty. And we talked about David, so heaping guilt on himself as a means of being almost a lightning rod in a certain way to attract the possible Chil Hashem, or rather to shift it off of his son, Avshalom. Again, so many conflicting emotions. So all of that means that David is already thinking in a certain pained, maybe constricted way. Because what's going to happen next is very strange. Now let's learn through the psukim. And some of you I know have read ahead, and you read it and you think, what could this mean? Pasuk bet. So Tziva is coming. He's got these donkeys, and they're saddled with all sorts of gifts and foods and whatever else. A lot of nice sweet foods and good things, and right. Vayomer HaMelech El Tziva Ma Elilach. What are these things to you? All right. Vayomer Tziva Achamurim Leveit HaMelech Lirkov VeHalechem VeHakayitz Le'echol HaNe'arim VeHayayin Lishtot Haya'ef Bamidbar. When David asks him, what are these? He means, what do these mean to you? What are you doing with them? What is your intention? What is Tziva's response? Or let me say it differently. In this pasuk, what is ambiguous about the answer of Tziva?
He doesn't say who that stuff belongs to.
Right.
He's
he leaves it pretty
really
open-ended.
clear.
He leaves it pretty open-ended.
Yes.
You see it in the pasuk. Oh, these belong to the house of the king. Who's in the house of the king? Who is the king? It's open-ended. And this is for the sake of riding upon. And the bread and the kites. Kites means the fruit that is associated with summertime. Or food associated with summertime. It's for the lads.
Probably Mephibosheth stuff, and he's not giving the credit to Mephibosheth. I mean,
Yeah, well, hold on. Let's keep going. So, in the wine to be able to eat, etc. Vayomer HaMelech ve'ayeh ben adonecha. Where is your master? Vayomer Tziva HaMelech hinei yoshev b'Yerushalayim ki amar hayom yashivu li Beit Yisrael et mamlechut avi. So just parsing this sentence should make our eyes go wide. Where is your master, basically? Or rather, the son of your master, meaning because he's from the house of Shaul. What does Tziva answer? The right word at the right time, perfect, hit him between the eyes. Oh, he's in Yerushalayim because he's saying now that I'll be restoring the house of Israel to the kingdom of my father. Was Mephibosheth a contender to become the king in the best of circumstances? No way. And who is going to Yerushalayim? Someone from the house of Shaul? No. It's going to be Avshalom, house of David. An Avshalom who we've already seen when he thinks it's the right way, take the law in his own hands and kill someone extrajudicially. He's willing to kill his own brother if he thinks his brother's done something wrong. So Mephibosheth is in Yerushalayim thinking, today everything is restored to my father's house. And yet, very, very strange, Vayomer HaMelech l'Tziva, Hinei lecha kol asher leMephibosheth. I'm giving you everything that belongs to Mephibosheth. Vayomer Tziva, and Tziva says, Hishtachaveti emtzachein be'inecha Adoni HaMelech. I bow to you. May I find favor in your eyes, my master, the king.
But Rabbi, don't you think that the king should have been wary of the Ziba? He's pulled this stunt before.
100%. Exactly. That's my question too. That's what I said. When you read this, you just say, I don't understand what is going on. It doesn't really compute. That is exactly the question.
Yeah.
I mean, what could the motivation of David HaMelech be to just give up and say, well, okay, I guess you might be right. So I'll just I'll just go with you. And it is honestly a mystery. And
Did he snap, or is this supposed to somehow be another one of those things that's supposed to protect Avshalom from what he's doing? That somehow David doing something this awful means he shouldn't be having the kingdom.
yeah,
And see, Avshalom is right for taking it.
yeah. I don't know. Let's learn a couple more lines of the story. And before we do that, actually, let's just see the Malbim inside. I put it up in front of you. It's the exact question here. Hashe'elot. This is the one we need for now. Oh, Karen, you want to say? Sorry.
I just was going to say, I don't understand any of this. I am
Great.
like completely befuddled.
We're all in the same boat. Now watch
For the
this.
record.
Hashe'elot, the questions. Eich ha'amin David livrei tziva v'lo Allah al libo kilashno ketar melutash oseh remiyah. Basically, to translate it into colloquial terminology, David knows that Siva is a bald-faced liar. So he took everything he said, hook, line, and sinker. He just accepted it. Karen, I see the cat is even agitated. Which I don't blame it. Okay. Va'ye ben Adonecha. So where is the son of your master? Mivuar. Kima shelo nimtza ish b'kol ashirei Yerushalayim yovil hamelech shai sus lirkov alav v'tzeid l'derech rak tziva evet. We learn from this, not a single person from any of the aristocracy of Yerushalayim thought to give David anything on his way out of Yerushalayim. Only one servant comes popping out of town, right? Hu ki haborchim ma'aru livroach. Ve'hanisharim ba'ir hayu mityarim laharot shehem ohavei David ve'hatomchim biyado. Why is that? Because the people who had to ran out fast. But whoever was left in the city is afraid. The rich people left in Yerushalayim are afraid to demonstrate that they love David and that they support him. They're afraid of the next regime coming. Rak ha'eved hamalshin al adonav chashav lahapil et adono mimma nafshach. So only the servant who was willing to speak ill of his master was willing to say something to slander his master, and he thought to tear down his master in any case, regardless, right? So he has no skin in the game. He's not a rich person. He's lost anyway, so he might as well tear down someone else, see if it can work to his own advantage. Lifnei David higid ki hu hanotein kol zot. Lifnei Avshalom haya yachol lomar she'adonav shalach oto v'tziva lo lehovil hachamrim v'alechem. Here's Tziva's plan. Tziva goes before David and says, I'm giving you these gifts, and I'm with you no matter what. Don't worry, sire. He goes back to Yerushalayim, and if he gets questioned by Avshalom or his men, what does he say? I just followed orders from my master Mephibosheth. So either case, Mephibosheth is removed. And Tziva, who's in the working class, actually has more stability than the people who are higher than him, who are possibly going to be toppled. V'David chashav tchila she'tziva evizot aydei pkudat adonav. At first, David does think he came because Mephibosheth now wants to do a chesed for me as I did for him. Hitpalei eich lo hityarei li sheb Yerushalayim achar shishalach kazot. And therefore, David can't understand. If this was all sent by Mephibosheth, doesn't Mephibosheth fear staying in Yerushalayim? Shekshi vadazot l'Avshalom yahargenu. Avshalom will not spare any expense. He'll kill Mephibosheth immediately when he realizes that Mephibosheth is sending gifts to the fugitive. V'ha'eshiv Tziva. What did Tziva respond? No, the reason my master didn't come now, I came myself. This has nothing to do with Mephibosheth. Mephibosheth Yoshev Yerushalayim. Lo halach, lo lahak b'pnei Avshalom, v'lo yivrochim David. Mephibosheth, you know why he stayed in Yerushalayim? Tziva is saying to David, Mephibosheth stayed in Yerushalayim so as to not have to accept Avshalom and not to accept David. Because he thinks to himself, Avshalom at Aviv, after Avshalom kills David, Yedinu Yisrael keben sorer umore. The whole nation will rise up and kill Avshalom. And then who will be left who can serve as the king? Tashuva Malchut lebeit Shaul. And behold, lo haya lo David the kabel divrei ha'eved. And behold, we see that David was not supposed to accept the words of this slave. V'ne'anash techef sheyatza shimi lekalelo. And says the Malbim, we see that David should not have accepted these mendacious claims against, and libelous claims against Mephibosheth. He should have had the wherewithal to say to Tziva, you are a liar, and I know you're a liar, and I know that you are a manipulator. You did this already in chapter 9. It's only a few chapters later. But David HaMelech doesn't do that. Now, what's the Malbim's proof that this is the case? If you look at the text graphically, the Tanakh, using Koren Tanakh on page 385, using your own Tanakh, it's the book of Shmuel Bet, Samuel 2, chapter 16, Parak Tet Zayin, Pasuk Dalid into Pasuk Hey. No paragraph break, no split. It is actually one long story right here. Uvad Melech ad Bachurim. He came to Bachurim. V'hinei Misham. And from this place, who came out to greet him? Shimi ben Gera. Who's that? V'hinei Misham ish yotzei mishpachat Beit Shaul. That's what we need to know. Ushmo Shimi ben Gera. Yotzei yatso u'mekalel. Many of us will remember the name Ben Gera, Shimi ben Gera. From the word Shimi, Mordechai HaYehudi, right? Ish Yehudi haya b'sush nabi Shema Mordechai, Ben Shimi, Ben Kish Ish Yemini. Yeah? So it means that one of his antecedents is Shimi, from the tribe of Binyamin, from the house of Shaul. So here he comes out and he's cursing David. Vayisakel ba'avanim et David ve'et kol avdei HaMelech David v'chol ha'am v'chol ha'giborim yimino mismolo. He is throwing stones at David, all of his servants, and all the nation, all the mighty men that are to the right and the left. V'chol amar Shimi b'kalalot. Tzei tzei ish adamim v'ish hablial. Out, out. Out, out. Brief candle. Remember, wonder where he got it? It's right over here. Out, out. Man of blood. Wicked man. Conspiratorial man. Whatever it is. Heshiv alech Hashem, kol dmei veit Shaul asher malachta tachtav, vayiten Hashem ramelucha b'yad Avshalom b'necha, v'hinei b'ra'atecha ki ish damim ata. This is it. You know why this is happening to you? I, Shimi ben Gera, will tell you it's because of what you did to the house of David. Did you notice? He's a man filled with blood. What blood? David didn't kill Shaul. David didn't kill Yehonatan. Yet, God has put all of the blood of the house of Shaul upon you because you reigned after him. And he is now giving the kingdom over to your son in your wickedness because you are a man filled with blood. Vayomer Avishai ben Seruya el HaMelech lama yikalel hakelev hameit hazeh Adoni HaMelech ebrana ve'asira et rosho. Avishai ben Seruya says to the king, why should this dead dog curse you and curse my master the king? Let me go and take off his head. I will remove his head. Now we're going to come back to these statements in a moment, but just when I said before, you know, the two stories are connected and David is being punished for having made a really a decision that seems to be impetuous and without thinking things through. And again, we can contextualize why that might be, but it seems that way. Who said that it's really therefore Shimi ben Gera came to tell him what he had done was totally wrong? David said it. Vayomer HaMelech, ma li v'lachem b'nei Tzeruya, ko yikalel ki Hashem amar lo kalel et David. Umi omar madu asita ken. What are you always bothering me, sons of Tzeruya? By which he meant to say, you're always the muscle. You always think the solution is guns and swords and bullets and killing, and that's not right. The reason why this is happening is that clearly Hashem told him, go give curses. So he's giving curses. In other words, he internalized this as related to something he had done wrong. Vayomer David el Avishai el kol avadav, hinei v'ni, asher yatsa mimei mevakeshet nafshi. My own son was emerged from my loins, from my innards. He is trying to kill me. Va'af ki ata ben hayamini, hanichu lo vayikalel ki amar lo Hashem. Clearly, God told him to curse me. And therefore, he is doing exactly that. And I'm somehow deserving, and not to all the claims, at least to the idea to be cursed. Ulai yireh Hashem be'eini. May God see my eyes. Some of the commentators write, may he see my eyes filled with tears. Or may he see, as the Ketiv is, be'avoni, or be'oni means my iniquity or my suffering or affliction. V'heshiv Hashem li tova tachat kilato yom hazeh. And indeed, may God repay me, give me recompense for goodness as against the curse of this day. The curse of this day. He internalized what was happening to him. He was somehow deserving it. We saw this the last time also in Perek Tet Vav, right? Of the cardinal three sins, murder, adultery, and idolatry. Well, the accusations against him were ultimately on a technical level unjustified, because on technical level, nothing happened that was on the technical level, breaking the law that to the point of it being a capital crime in the case of either what happened with Bathsheba or with Uriah, as we spoke about for many, many months at a time. In that, I'm not reopening that whole parsha, but that we did talk about this at length. But what is the Navi still telling him? But you're dead wrong. Morally and ethically, what you did was horrible. And he gets David himself to realize that the man who took the lamb should be killed, even though juridically that's not really true, but the justice of the matter. And you see here that David has internalized this message, even in ways that are heaping it upon himself in ways that are unfair, unrealistic. And here also, Shimi ben Gera is some guy, he's not a Navi. David says, Hashem sent him. Abishai ben Sri is saying, this man's throwing rocks at us. We have all these armaments. That's not going to stand. Let's beat him up. Let's kill him. No, we're not going to kill him. Now, wait one more minute. Now watch what happens next. Because it doesn't end there, right? Vayelech David, Vanashav Badarech. And David and his people are walking on the way, ellipsis. And what's happening at the same time? Shimi holech b'tzeila hahar le'umato. Shimi is on the side of the mountain, walking parallel to him. Haloch vayikalel vayisakel b'avanim l'umato v'ipar be'afar. He is heckling him, cursing him, throwing things on him the whole time. It's unbelievable. We'll stop there. Let me take some questions and comments. I want to show you some of the psukim. And then I want to see a Gemara here that I think is instructive to understanding what Chazal were trying to reckon with in this exact section of the Navi. Go ahead, anyone?
Rabbi, it says sons of Zeruiah. So it doesn't just say Avishai. David is thinking back to what Yoav did to Avner. This is all interrelated, and David, even though he walked in the funeral procession, did not punish Yoav. He didn't fire him. He didn't say anything.
He didn't demote him.
I can understand at least why Shimi ben Gera from that kind of family is saying, wait a minute, this is you're walking in a funeral procession is a wink, wink, and a nod, and you deserve now what you're going to get. And I'm even gonna talk to you. And
I love your characterization of Shimon ben Gera. I think it's right. Something along those lines. He was still carrying the resentment of the house of Shaul, and it reminds us that after everything that's happened between the tribe of Binyamin and the rest of the Jewish people, end of Sefer Shoftim, the story about in Sefer Shmuel of the rise and ascendancy of Shaul, and then sadly his fall, there were people from Binyamin who were still waving the flag. Lahavdil, I'm just saying it by way of illustration. I think I pointed out the time of maybe 10 or 12 years ago, maybe a little more. I happened to I got to Charleston, South Carolina, and I was with a group of rabbis. It was like a conference there. We went to a park, and there's these statues, and when you look at the statues up close, I mean, they're lionizing the various generals of the Confederacy.
Rabbi,
Again, I grew up Canadian, and so I'm an implant to America in the first place. And then I'm also a Northerner, so I get to the South and say, wow. And this is Lahavdil, but you see that he's still saying to him, what is this? Now, Helen, before your comment, let me just throw in two other points. People can look up the pages while we're having the conversation. Chapter 2 of Sefer Shmuel Bet, chapter 2, if you flip back there, verses 12 right on to the end of the chapter, you may recall was the story of how in the family of the Tsuruyas, the reality was that Asael ben Tsuruya, one of the brothers, was actually chasing Avner. Avner did not want to kill him, and he told him so. There was a skirmish between the house of David and the house of Shaul, or rather, the king of Israel, David, and the remnant of the house of Shaul, particularly in the persona of Ishboshet and the like. And by the by, in the conflict, Avner ben Ner, left with no choice, kills one of the members of the house of Tsuruya, who the brother of this one who got killed, Asael, was Yoav ben Tsuruya. And so even after it happened, what happened? There was really very, to put it charitably, very, very bad blood between these families and these people, right? And basically, he Yoav, verse, where is it? Well, they have this denouement that they're going to cease and desist from having conflict with each other. Asael is buried, but the reality is that Yoav is waiting for his moment, and that's what Shelley was referencing before, and therefore that's the story of Yoav ben Tsuruya killing Avner ben Ner in the gate there in Hebron. By the way, when you go to Hebron today, if you happen to go around the corner from the Ma'arat HaMachpelah, there is actually right above the one of the gates between the Arab section of Hebron and the Jewish enclave in Hebron, right next to the military post where the Chayalim sit, there is actually a plaque there that says this is the burial place of Avner ben Ner. Was he literally buried there? I'm not an archaeologist or historian, but that he was actually killed in Hebron, yeah, that's in the story. And the point is that the Tsuruyas are always gunning for it. Remember in Shmuel Aleph, chapter should be 26, and particularly look at page 359 in the Koren Tanakh, this you should turn to if you can. It's Shmuel Aleph, chapter 26, verse 6 and onward. Verse 6 and onward. Chapter 26 of Shmuel Aleph. That's page 359 in the Koren Tanakh. Vayan David, Vayomer el Achimelech Achiti, Vel Avishai ben Tzur Achi Yoav, Lemor, Mi Yerediti el Shaul el Amachane, Vayomer Avishai, Ani Yeredimach. They go down to the camp to see David and to see Shaul and his soldiers sleeping. Vayavo David Avishai el Am, Laila, V'nei Shaul Shochev Yashem b'Ma'agal, V'chanito Me'ucha ba'aretz, Mirashotav Avner v'Ha'am, Shochavim Sivotav. Shaul and his units, military units, are coming to hunt down. It's a manhunt. They're looking for David. They've gone to sleep. David and Avishai go down, creep down to the exact encampment. They're standing over a sleeping Shaul HaMelech. And David knows he's already the king. So what does Avishai say? Avishai el David, Sigar Elohim hayom et oyivcha biyadecha. Ve'ata akenu na b'chanit u'va'aretz. Hapam achat v'lo eshne lo. Let me kill him right now. I'll spear him. What does David say? David al Avishai, al tashchitehu. Kimi shalach yado b'mshiach Hashem v'nikah. Who can set their hand against the anointed one of God and be blameless. This is after Shmuel HaNavi already told David, you're the new king. After Shmuel told Shaul, you're no longer the king, or he'll be removed from you. Vayomer David chai Hashem, kim Hashem yigofenu, o yomo yavo v'meit, o v'milchama yerid v'nispa, chalila li me'Hashem. Sorry, he takes an oath that maybe God will kill him, or maybe his time will come he will either die of some kind of, it will smite him, means maybe in a plague, an illness, or maybe his day will come and he will just die, or he'll go to a war and get killed there. But God forbid that I should send my hand against the Mashiach. I would never stretch out my hand against the one who's anointed by God. What do they do? But take the spear and take his jug of water, his canteen, and we'll go. We'll vamus. And later on, they're going to show it to Shaul. Yuhu, we have your things. We could have killed you. We didn't. Why not? Respect. You're still the Mashiach Hashem. Now flip back to our chapter 16. A man comes to curse the king. They're throwing things on the king. What does the king say? It's not for me. We would say today in our special postmodern silliness, it's not for me to judge. It's not for me to judge. I don't have a decision. A guy's cursing me. I probably deserve it. I did something wrong. But you see that David has internalized all of this guilt, and that a man is telling him, you are not really the king. And as Shelley pointed out, in this man's mind, he somehow still has blood on his hands. In what way? Who did he kill? Well, he was there when Avner ben Ner got killed, and he didn't do anything to Yoav. And here the Tzuriah family is still at it. And playing to Shimei ben Gera's hand, here goes the next member of the Tzuriah family, Avishai, same guy, saying, sire, let's just kill this. Let's just get rid of him. No, that's not the answer, right? So, right? And you see that it's not just that he said to him something of like a pacifist, violence, not the answer. He said, this man is a shliach Hashem. I'm taking my bitter medicine. I don't exactly know why he's the shliach, but he must be. He gave the guy nevuah, but he internalized the story that was happening here. Now, Helen, you want to say something? You waited so patiently. Thanks for your patience. I just wanted to get that out so we see the sequence.
Okay.
Next after this, we'll see the Gemara. Please.
Okay. Abraham Lincoln told General Lee, go home. He did not put him on trial. And he was a great devotee of the Bible. So he followed the same thing, and he didn't execute him. However, what you saw in the South of the tumbling statues and the protests of the statues of General Lee in all these cities and the protests that happened recently goes to show you that this is a sticky business, even though David and President Lincoln try to not destroy their enemy.
Yeah. Yeah. I was using that example, in terms of Churchill also. There wasn't a Civil War issue, but it was something about, it was the peace of Europe. And, there are other issues at stake, obviously the communists and all that, but with the Soviet Union. But my point is the same kind of idea, right? Instead of destroying your enemy, say, okay, we're laying down our weapons and go home now.
But he just gave Mephibosheth, the stuff he gave to Mephibosheth, he just gave to Ziba. He knew the guy's a liar, and he's still giving him the stuff. And he's the one that abandoned Jerusalem. The nobles in Jerusalem could have been very upset that the king runs away instead of does his job as a king and stands up and fight, or takes them all with him and protects them. Come on.
He's a
We're
dad.
all whitewashing David sometimes.
He's a king.
Could David be upset that what he did to Ziba, that he believed Ziba, and so he's had time to cool down, and Shimei ben Gera does this to him, and he thinks, wait a minute, I already overreacted.
Yeah.
I better calm down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that the reaction and tearing down the statues has anything to do with the treatment of the Confederate generals. Those things were not triggered by history, they were triggered by current events. And the current events involved unfair criminal and vigilante treatments of the African-American people and the Latino people.
You're talking about, you're back to Civil War.
I'm talking about the tearing down of the statues. Those are very...
Oh, yeah. No, my point was just to say that you would think Shimei ben Gera, it's like, it's decades later. Bury the hatchet, man. What are you still screaming about the king? He's been the king already for decades. And here you're coming out and you're saying, you're not really the king. You have blood on your hands and I'm going to throw things at it. Really? We've marched on from there. There is no house of Shaul left. Mephibosheth is lame. He can never become the king. There's no other members of the family who can ever take the throne again. And the Jewish people have accepted David as their king, except that now we find out that roiling just under the surface was this real rancor, this burning anger, bitterness and resentment that was festering. And now that David is laid low and leaving, Shimei ben Gera says, I waited my whole life to tell this guy off, and he can do nothing to me. And he doesn't do anything to him, at least not now. Karen.
I was just going to say, David is broken now. I mean, after he realized what he has done, he doesn't have the Ruach HaKodesh. He's making poor decisions. He's a broken man. And people who are going to pray, they go for the weakness. They're looking for someone who's weak.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Yeah.
I sometimes feel if I was in the room with David, when he would be telling me this story, I would say to him, David, now you can look with some retrospect. Seriously? Like you accepted what Siva told you when it's so obvious. Isn't it obvious to you that Mephibosheth couldn't have really said what he said? Isn't it true that Siva was already known to you to be a person highly manipulative? And Shimei ben Gera, yes, it's true. He's the emissary of Hashem because he's saying something to you, but seriously, was he a Navi? What did he now? And I think you're going to see some of the things that happen later, not all, but some of them are perhaps going to be David realizing this himself. Recall that he does not ever do anything bad to Shimei ben Gera, but he does leave instructions with Shlomo about what should happen with Shimei ben Gera. When we get there, we'll have to understand, well, then why, if it meant nothing to him here, if it meant something to him here, but he internalized it, it's from Hashem, what was it about later that caused him to change his mind? Karen, you want to say something else, please?
Yes. When you were saying that, I was thinking in my mind that that's usually something that like a spouse can do. A spouse can sit you down when you're lost.
Interesting.
He just left all of the women in Yerushalayim.
Yeah.
He doesn't have them. He doesn't have that.
Maybe that's part of it. I don't know. I mean, he does have advisors still with him. He's not.
He does,
But his main advisor, by the way, is now playing for the other team.
Achitofel is a main advisor.
I just said his main advisor is now playing for the other team. That's who I mean, Achitofel. So his basic sources of knowledge, perspective, he's not getting perspective from the Ben Saruya family. They're sitting there sharpening their knives all the time. So, and he's saying this is not. Helen, one other comment, and then I want to move on to see the Gemara. Please.
Okay. One thing, isn't it convenient that Yonatan dies? What would happen if Yonatan was still alive now instead of these weaker members?
Counterfactual. You're right. No idea. Counterfactual question. You're right, but what who knows? But it didn't happen that way. It's totally speculative and hypothetical.
It's sort of like a convenience.
But you have to remember, it wasn't a convenience. Yehonatan is the crown prince. He went with his father to battle in a massive, long, drawn-out battle that ended horribly for the Jewish people in Hara Gilboa and in the vicinity of the Galil where this transpired. It was a terrible tragedy. But the plan was, and the plans don't ever turn out the way we expect. Isn't that it's the message again and again from the beginning of the Torah? The plans don't work out. Plans Hashem makes don't work out, right? Before man plans and God laughs, that everybody quotes me all the time. Well, God plans and then man laughs. Man laughs at God, right? I mean, right. I don't mean it in a positive way. I mean, he gave us freedom and then the plan runs amok. Garden of Eden gets ruined. A brother kills a brother. The people are all sinning. God says, oh, I didn't do this again. So Noah will start again. And then the three sons, one of them is a rotten apple. You only have three little apples over there, the children of Noah. So one of them, Ham, has to be cursed already for terrible things he did, and so on and so on. It never goes to plan. Had the plan worked out, yeah, and you could, I mean, again, we could keep going through the whole Bible, right? The Jews shouldn't have spent 40 years in the desert. Right. And Moshe shouldn't have said that. You could pick anything. So here also, if they would have survived, it would have been the most beautiful confederacy. Not in the Confederacy, Union Confederacy, but a confederation of the house of Shaul and the house of Yehuda. How's that? And David. How's that? David and Yonatan would have been the king and the subordinate. Maybe they would have had a rotation. I don't know. Unlikely, but halachically speaking, but at least they would have had some kind of fealty between each other. It was born of a friendship. And that would have been the unification of the house of Leah and the house of Rachel, the story between Yosef and Yehuda, or Yosef Binyamin versus Yehuda and the house of Leah, that would have finally been sewed up, and it wasn't. It wasn't meant to be yet. We're still waiting. Look with me at this page together. We're short on time. I have to end a little early today, which is always relative for me, what that means. But here's the Gemara Masechet Shabbat that I want you to look at with me and marvel with me at this Gemara, because as you're reading the story, I want you to think a little bit about some of our questions and ask yourself, are these just our questions? Are these Chazal's questions as well? This Gemara, page 56a, is the headquarters Gemara that we've actually spent some time on previously. The part I didn't quote for you today is the story about anyone who says that David sinned is making a mistake and then figuring out the technical reasons why he would have gotten off, etc. And we talked about this extensively. But then Rav says the following: Kime ayanat be beDavid lo mishkachat be bar mid'Uriah. When you look at David, you look at sort of like his record. What did he do well? What did he do poorly? How did he fail? We find that he only failed with regard to one thing in his life. It was the sin with Uriah. So, Abaye Kashisha, Rami, Derav, Aderav. What did Abaye do? Lived in a later generation. He was trying to understand, how could this be something that was spoken by Rav? After all, right? Mi Amar Rav Hachi. Rav really said that? Rav was the one who said that there was another sin that David had, which is Kibel Lashon Hara. Kashya. Indeed, this is a big question. David accepted Lashon Hara. What is it referring to? Gufa, says the Gemara. Now let's get to the main. That means that the Gemara is ramping up the microscope's magnification to look at a statement that was just made more in depth. Gufa. Rav Amar Kibel David Lashon Hara Dichtiv, because it says, Vayomer lo hamelech eifohu. Vayomer tziva hamelech hinehu beit machir ben Amiel Bilaz. I think that's what it says. Below Davar. Uchtiv vayishlach hamelech vayikachem mibeit machir ben Amiel Lo Davar. He took him from this place, right? He got him and he brought him from that place. Michti chazia de shikrahu. Kihadar, you saw already. In other words, David already knew that this man, David saw that Sivya was actually lying about Mephibosheth, right? The reality is that it says that he had an awareness that he was slandering him, right? We saw that back in chapter 9. So now, and he'd already confronted him on this, i.e., because he brought Mephibosheth and the like. So now, when he said to him, Ki hadar alshin ilave, maitama kibla mine. Why do you accept the Lashon Hara the next time so easily? Because it says, Vayomer hamelech el tziva ve'aye ben adonecha, Vayomer tziva el hamelech hine Yoshev Yerushalayim. Oh, he's sitting in Yerushalayim doesn't mean he's physically in Yerushalayim. It means he's settled in Yerushalayim. He's not moving. Umenala and the Kibel Minei. How do we know that David accepted it? He gave him the whole estate back. Right? So Rav maintains, according to this Gemara, that David had another sin. In addition to the sin of Uriah, the sin of accepting Lashon Hara. Shmuel says, I disagree. Lo kibel David Lashon Hara. Dvar hanikarim chazabeh. No, he really actually he saw within Mephibosheth certain things when he got back, and he realized that it really was representative of Mephibosheth, that it was not a lie. And Mephibosheth really did still harbor in his heart hatred toward, resentments toward David. We're going to see that in chapter 19. But Mephibosheth ben Shaul yarad likrat hamelech v'lo asar raglav v'lo asas sfamo v'begadav lo kibes. So we see that at a certain point, Mephibosheth, when he came to greet the king, when the king will come back home, he will be dressed in a bedraggled manner. He will not made up his beard, his mustache. He's not done his hair. He's not in nice clothing. He hasn't washed them. And therefore, there is a real concern that actually Mephibosheth is, in fact, somehow himself duplicitous. And it will describe that he came to greet him. He not done anything to prepare for this, and in fact, it will describe Buchtiv. He'll be asked directly, why didn't you come with me when it was time? What will he answer? Avadi rimani. Ki amar avdecha ech beshali achamor ve'erkav alea ve'elech el hamelech. He will say, actually, that my servant betrayed me. He was duplicitous. He told me he's going to make a donkey ready, and I'll go and I'll see the king. Kifiseach avdecha, for your servant is lame, right? Meaning me, Mephibosheth, I'm lame, and he knew that I couldn't come along. Now, he could have come in the back of a donkey, but he didn't. All right? Vayiragel be'avdecha el adoni hamelech, adoni hamelech kemalach Elokim. He's pouring it on, right? Siva slandered your servant to the Lord, my king, and my master, the king, is like an angel of God to do whatever is good in your eyes, right? So he was pouring it on thick. Chapter 19. We're going to get there. So do whatever's right in your eyes. So what did the king say to him? Vayomer lamelech lam taber od dvarecha. Amarti adav tziva techalku et hasadeh. So why are you still talking? You and Tziva, you're saying too much. I already said you and Tziva should now divide the field. And then Vayomer Mephibosheth lamelech gamer kol yikach acharei asher ba adoni hamelech b'shalom beito. He told him, the king has come back in peace to his house. Let him take everything. So the Gemara says, what was he basically saying to the king? Amar lo, ami ematai tavo b'shalom v'ata likach. When will the king return in peace? I was hoping for the day when you would return in peace. And this is how you treat me? You split it? So my complaint, lo alecha yesh li taromot, I'm really upset with, not with you, King David, but the one who brought you back in peace. I hoped you would have basically died there. The Gemara goes further from the pasuk from Divrei Hayamim. Hanu dichtivu ven Yehonatan Meriv Baal. Meriv Baal Shmo is his name. Meriv Baal. Halo Mephibosheth Shmo. His name is Mephibosheth. Why did they change his name to Meriv Baal? What does Meriv Baal mean? Meriv, arguments or fights against the master. El shmitoch shas meriva im ba'alav yatz the bat kover amrlo neitzei bar neitzei. Neitzei. So basically, or natza rather. Natza is the Aramaic term. Not neitzei, but natza is what he called him. All right? You're a person who is full of mitzah, is a quarrel. So you're the one who's so full of quarrel. You're so quarrelsome. Natza hadamaran. Bar natzi, the son of one who made quarrels. Because look at Vayavo Shaul ad Ir Amalek Vayarev Banachal. Vayarev Banachal. He made a quarrel when he had to fight against Amalek. He's quarrelsome and you're quarrelsome. Amar Rabbi Mani al Iske Nachal. It was with regard to the matters of the Nachal. He made a fight, meaning he was asking God. We saw that Gemara previously, asking Shmuel, why do I have to kill them? And what is Shmuel telling him? Don't be sick as a big tzaddik. It's the mitzvah, etc. But the point is, you're making a quarrel where it doesn't belong. The Gemara here seems to be struggling with the reality that Mephibosheth was demoted. And according to Shmuel, at least, Rav says, no, he accepted Lashon Hara. It was fake. It was false. Shmuel, you could say it's contrived and he's trying to shoehorn it in. It feels a little that way when you read the Psukim, that really you're blackening the name of Mephibosheth needlessly, but it's in order to somehow exonerate David HaMelech having made this decision. It really was the right decision all along. Rav says, no, it wasn't. It was a terrible decision. Even Makabal Lashon Hara, it was a chait. So now Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav, spoken in the name of Rav now again. When David announced to Mephibosheth that you and Siva are going to split it, the sadeh means the estate. A heavenly voice proclaimed. Now, whether they heard it at the time of is immaterial to me. If you want to be a literalist about it, then fine. They all heard a voice. What does that mean? Because really, if that was the case, they really should have said, who's Rechavam? He hasn't been born yet. Who's Yeravam? He hasn't been born yet. But no one said that, because what it means is the heavenly voice already, the echo came out and said, David, you accepted Lashon Hara on this? he was so quick to just say split. Okay, split the difference. There's going to be a split in your kingdom. Amarav Yud Amarav, Ilmal lo kibel David lashon hara, lo nechleka malchut bei David, v'lo avdu Yisrael v'odazar v'lo galina me'artzenu. Them's is fighting words. What this Gemara concludes here by saying is, I should show you the English. It's a little section at the end. It's even worse. Had David not accepted this lashon hara that Siva spoke against Mephibosheth, the kingdom of David would never have been split. The Jewish people have never come to worship idols, referencing the ways in which Yeravam ben Nevat set up the two calves in Dan and Beersheba. Dan and Beit El, rather, excuse me. We would have never been exiled. From this acceptance of Lashon Hara, look how much destruction came. Does it remind you of a case where someone was bringing Lashon Hara about someone else, which was unfair and maybe not even true, but it was somehow possibly somewhat accepted by the recipient, and as a result of this slander, a whole people was exiled?
Tisha B'Av.
No.
Tisha
It
B'Av, a
sounds
great
like
example, but even before, I'm thinking biblically. Tisha B'Av, a great example. Kamsa Bar Kamsa, etc. But where is even an antecedent to this? Think about making peace within the Jewish people. Remember at the beginning of Parshat Vayeshev? As far as Chazal are concerned, as far as the Torah is concerned, Pshat, Yosef is Motze Diba against his brothers. Remember, he's Unar, Bnei Bil, Zilpa, right? He's bringing reports about his brother. Now, they might have been true, they might not have been true. But the fact is that one person informs about the other. Now, I'm not comparing Yosef and Tziva over here, but I am making another comparison, Yaakov Avinu and David HaMelech. We've seen this parallel again and again and again. I think there's something here as well. The fact that, and what's amazing is, I mean, again, you want to be the defensive attorney of David HaMelech, you say, Ribbonu Sh'olam, the man was going through the most excruciating pain, one suffering after another. He made a bad call. On this, all of this should be Megalgel. So, Shimi ben Gera comes to curse. Why does David say, I deserve it? Because I don't even realize that I just accepted more Lashon Hara against the house of Shaul, Mephibosheth, because the Eved said this. Tziva's not a member of the family. He's actually literally the hired help, literally. And he's insinuated himself to take over. And that's a terrible tragedy of the house of Shaul, another layer of it. Again, if you want to take Shmuel's side, you can see two perfect Jews. One's from the house of the school of Rav, the other from Shmuel. Shmuel says, no, Mephibosheth was bad. Mephibosheth was plotting and unhappy and had claims against Hashem. So but Rav says, no, he accepted Lashon Hara. And that is a chait. And that the chait is so terrible, had such terrible consequences. We're not hanging it around David's neck. We're just saying the fact that David did this did have this consequence later on where a split would transpire. Now, how do you draw the link between this happened with the house of Shaul and later on Rechavim Yeravam? So that we'll have to see when they get to the split of Rechavim Yeravam. We'll see this Gemara again and say, oh, there's an antecedent. Why should have led to so much? Well, we asked that question about Mitzrayim as well. Klal Yisrael had to go down to Mitzrayim because the brothers didn't get along. There's some quarrel in the family. Never heard of sibling rivalry. Those things, jealousies. It happens all the time. Kids get into it. Yeah, but they weren't exactly kids. Yosef is 17. He's not a little boy. The brothers are even older. They're in their 30s, their 40s, their 50s. They're not little children. And you see, this is Gal Gulu Hadvar and how things came out. And the point here is, I think, is by the by, it's possible that this bad call, which all of us on this, I think we're all thinking, how could David have said that? How could he have accepted such a thing? But we realize against the background in which he did it, may or may not be exculpatory in terms of his own record, David's own record, but it certainly does still leave us with thinking, how could it? So that's Rob saying, yeah, he did something bad here. And you could source, why did David do this bad thing? Now, you could see again that plinko from last week. Why did David do what he did? Why did he say what he said? Why did he make a decision? Like He was so filed down for everything that happened to him already. Why was he so filed down? Because he was being punished with all these things. Why was he being punished with these things? Because of what he did with Bathsheba and Uriah. Comes down zigzag through all the generations and Mamish. Now you see. So we're stopping here, right at this point, in the middle. We're always in the middle. And what we'll see next time, we'll try to understand a little bit better what's transpiring with Achitofel and the back to the issues with Achitofel. I think we will have a shiur next week, even though it's Erev Yontif. Does that sound sensible? Will people be available?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll have a shiur. I'm expecting to have a shiur next week. We'll continue. We'll finish off Perek, maybe a bridge shiur, Perek Tet Zion, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. And that's it for today.
Wait, Rabbi, I got it.